Okay, so Thanksgiving is upon us, and I'll tell you, for years, Jamie and I would feel exhausted, overcommitted, overwhelmed, and just not feeling great at the end of the day or the end of the weekend because we were making some big mistakes. And we're going to share with you 3 of the biggest mistakes we made over the years and ones we don't make anymore, where it produces a lot more peace, joy, and connection back into what can be a great holiday.
Also, Guapo is really ruining this too.
You got to get out. Okay, the first huge mistake that Jamie and I made over the years was overscheduling. You know, it's almost like poor kids just want to stay home and enjoy just a few simple traditions. And we would schedule the day almost like the busy day of a CEO, closing a big deal, from sun up to sundown. And maybe you're not just staying at your house, you're going to 3 other houses and you're going to do a race and a this and that. And it got to be too much. And we would just overschedule and we called a timeout, basically.
Yeah, well, I think everything is super fun and I want everybody to have all the super fun. And so, but by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th thing, you think, oh, well, they're melting down and they've had a bunch of sugar. I've had the beginnings of 45 conversations. Nothing's a closed loop. It just starts to feel really overwhelming, I think, to everybody. The sleep schedule's off. The romance schedule's probably off. It's all off.
Well, when you overschedule, too, you really set... People would always say to us, how do you avoid getting overwhelmed or agitated with your kids at the holidays? Because our kids are excited and running all over, and that's whether they're 3 or 20. We're all still kids at the holidays. But when you overschedule, you almost set your younger kids especially up for failure. You overwhelm them, and then when they start misbehaving and we get upset, what is wrong with you? And when we reflect back, I'm like, ugh, we really put too much on them for that day.
That's a lot to go to, grandma's house that she can't.
You're not allowed to touch anything or something like that for a 5-year-old. So that was our biggest thing. Was we just stopped overscheduling. We got a couple of really fun things on Thanksgiving Day planned, and there's going to be time to digest, time to talk, time to even take a little nap if you want, enjoy a parade or a football game or a walk on the beach. We're not overscheduled.
I think, too, to not view it as a one-time event. Thanksgiving is one day, but last year came up with pie night. So we actually get to extend. So the night before Thanksgiving is kind of like Friendsgiving. We invite all the people
in the neighborhood
that have their own Thanksgivings going on, but that we'd still like to see, but we don't necessarily need to see on Thanksgiving. We have them come over. And then the day after Thanksgiving, we do leftover day and we have other people. And so it's nice to think of it as an entire couple of days, not as a one-time meal.
Yes. Well said. Yeah, spread. And again, you're going to have traditions not just on that Thursday, but like you've done for us, a Wednesday. We have one fun thing on the Friday, and that's something to spread it out and still enjoy. And so overscheduling, it drained us to the bone. And I'm looking more forward to this Thanksgiving than ever because we've simplified and it's a nice light schedule for us with lots of deep things. And that kind of leads us into the second mistake that I guess went with overscheduling, but you could still do even if you don't schedule too many things, and that's getting caught up in details over connection.
Oh, yes. So the turkey doesn't remember if it was burnt, right? But your children will remember if I'm not looking at them. If I say your children, will notice if they're like, hey, daddy, and then you don't look up. So I think it's so important to have an idea and stick to the idea. What is a reasonable amount of details to handle for that day? What can you handle ahead of time? What can you delegate? But really and truly, how can you be present for the connection?
Yeah. Biggest lesson for me that I've learned is older relatives. This is something a mentor taught to me. They just want to be heard, especially at the holidays. So if you will sit with an older relative, like I would sit with my father. So my father passed away right after Thanksgiving a couple years ago. That last Thanksgiving was phenomenal. And somehow I was lucky enough where I slowed down and we had great conversations and laughter. And I think he told a few of the stories I had heard 15, 20, 50 times, a couple of times that day. And I was totally fine with it. And I'm so glad that I was taught, just listen to the story again. And I took that simple advice, and it really was, it's one of the most memorable days. It's the last holiday I got to spend with my father. Had I been so rushed of that, okay, we're in code red of appetizers into full meal, and do we have enough chairs on this? And is that tied down just right for the for the placemat? And you know what I'm saying. So I think that you have to have that space. And if your whole purpose is just to handle details, and you think at the end I would get a gold star if everything was checked off, but I didn't have a meaningful conversation, well, then I kind of lost the holiday. And that includes with you. I want to be able to talk to my sweetheart, not only all my relatives around me.
Very true. I think also within that is tradition. Sometimes we hold really tight to traditions. Grandma makes her sausage stuffing, and I've reinvented the sausage stuffing because Grandma has her recipe and then I have my recipe, and I've put them together because simplify. And I don't know how that feels to everybody, but it reduces the amount of details and the amount of dishes. And so I just think that
that's a good example.
Honoring tradition in the way in which you're able to make it happen.
Yeah, which I think some people might think that's small, but I know for you that's huge. That one thing is like... and it's a great example. And I think with connection too, what we've learned too, to have the conversations and the connection points, the memories that we want, that also includes, we create extra details sometimes at the holidays. We would create extra details at the holidays by inviting toxic people that we felt obligated to have, but it had crossed boundaries, whether with sobriety or behavior, even making children feel comfortable, whatever it was. And and you'd feel obligated. We've gotten out of the details of obligation, because if you're always watching or trying to crowd control certain people you don't even want there, for us, it was like, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
I think it's another danger of overcommitment. It is something that you are feeling obligated to do, like all this other super fun stuff, although it's on the other side of the spectrum of super fun stuff. And releasing yourself from that is not easy, especially for those of us that have empathy and can see all the way around something like, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And yet it's not what's best for my family and my peace on a day that matters.
Yeah. I've heard you say, and that was I have to think of what's best for my children. And that is really a cornerstone lens for you. And I think that's really served us well. So that's it. Details over connections. We're more about connection and enjoying that day and letting certain details fall and setting up a day where there's less details involved, including sometimes changing the invite list. And that's helped us a lot. And once you're not overscheduled, you've enjoyed the day, you're really focusing on connection. What we've learned, and this was something that I've struggled with always with my ADD or my hyper-focus, and that is you can forget about the people right in front of you and pay more attention to the people online than the people you're right there with during the holidays.
This is number 3.
This is number 3. This is the third one. So this is a shame. This is a shame where we've kind of put some boundaries on that, and we encourage the people at our house for the holidays, put your phone down. And that had to start with me, because I'd be the worst.
Well, I hated it. I was always like, why are you more interested in everybody else?
And I wasn't, and that made so much sense. But I'm like, oh, it's just a quick check or this or that.
Well, and it always like you were like, oh, my friend's back home, and I can see what they're doing, and it was almost like a moment of, it's a connection, right? Social is a connection. That's what it's intended to do. And yet it would pull you out of what was right in front of you.
Yeah, and it's
and make me feel poopy.
Well, and I don't want you to feel poopy. Such harsh language, too. But if I call it algorithm poisoning, it starts with seeing one or two people you really care about, then people you don't even really know, and then advertisements, and then things that piss you off. And then all of a sudden, I remember one time years ago looking around, everyone was just sitting there, not even watching the football or talking. Everyone's just on their phone, just glued on it.
Probably not me. I was probably in the kitchen.
Probably not you. You were not one of those people. But, we get in a zone where we're with people online more than the people in front of us on the holidays. So we have a rule of, especially at the actual Thanksgiving dinner table, you're welcome at our table, but your phone is not. And there were times with some younger relatives or even some older relatives, I had to say, hey, we're going to just enjoy each other's company here. And I tried to say it nicely, and they were a little offended, but the motive was good. And so our feelings, probably if you've been following us, I love technology, but can really get in the way of connection. And so, I think you've always been better at that than I have, but you've seen kind of the pain of it from not only me, but other relatives as well and such. And anyway, it's something that we're very aware of. And
I would say also giving presents to the people in front of you means not talking shit about the people that aren't around you also, because,
sure.
To give energy of any kind to anybody that's not there present in front of you, you're really giving away what you could give to somebody else. So if you're focusing on, oh, can you believe blah, 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 or oh, I'm glad, but if you're focusing on that, which I know we can all be guilty of, like the same way of like you're saying social media, you can get on there and be like, well, oh, I remember they, you were saying piss you off. Why do they get to have a good Thanksgiving? But the same thing, if you're sitting at a table, even though if it feels like, oh, commiserating, you have a similar opinion, it doesn't matter because you're giving attention to somebody that's not even there. Why do that?
Sure.
If you want to give someone your attention, invite them over to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And what's worst about this that I've learned the hard way is, like you joked before, like if I'm focusing on the perfection of the turkey and our young daughter said 4 times, oh, Mommy, watch this, or Daddy, look at this, and you miss it, you've just missed an absolute magic moment. And the younger...
Tell them they're not important.
Well, yeah, and that's what happens, especially our younger children, several of them don't have phones yet. So if everyone around them is just on their phone, what kind of example is that setting? How's that making them feel? Well, first of all, they're going to want a phone at an extra young age because they think, well, this is the thing to have.
Check out too.
Yeah, and they can check out too. And, or they just feel unseen, and that's a terrible thing, and it's something I've definitely been guilty of and hate that feeling. So I really aim for pretty strong tech fasting on Thanksgiving, the day after, and I have no regrets. You can always catch up on social media later, but if you're present with the people, I've never regretted staying off my phone for a holiday, and how I feel at the end of the day is much different had I been scrolling all day.
When you realize that none of that
you didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss anything.
So what would you like to kind of top with? We hit on 3 really powerful ones of our big mistakes. We've overscheduled, we've gotten tied up in details, and we've missed connection, and then we got wrapped up, or at least I got wrapped up, and other people we had at our table got more wrapped up with focusing with people online than the people right in front of them.
Yeah, so I think ultimately something that can encapsulate all of this is we had a problem with the word no in the past.
Oh,
we would say yes to toxic relationships and experiences.
To the table.
We would say yes to technology. We would say yes to overscheduling. We would say, it was like we had a total boundaries clusterfuck, and pulling those things in tighter give us the ability to be better connected, better grounded, and overall just enjoy it so much more.
I agree. The word no has been a really positive word for us, not only at Thanksgiving, but other holidays, but definitely Thanksgiving.
Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, and vice versa. So you want to make certain that those things that you are saying yes to are truly things you want to move yourself and your family closer to.
Agreed. And you got to say no sometimes to bad words like poopy, because that was terrible language that you shared in this video.
But I did say also
young lady. Well, thanks, guys. 3 things that you can, we've decided to avoid. That's, again, overscheduling, details over connection, and being online instead of with the people in front of you. So hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy, slow down, make the memories. Never know when it's your last. I learned that the hard way a few years ago, and we'll look forward to our next video together.